Hi. You know, if you're like me, you probably throw more away than you actually keep, kind of like an anti-pack rat, but you might want to think twice after you watch this. Here are 10 pieces of trash that turned out to be treasure. Number 10 are Ansel Adams photos. In the spring of 2000, construction worker and artist Rick Norsegian bought a set of 65 old glass photo negatives of Yosemite National Park for $45 at a garage sale in Fresno, California. The original seller had bought them in 1940 from a salvage sale in Los Angeles. Norsegian kept them in boxes under his pool table for 4 years before finally moving them to a bank vault when he realized that they might actually be worth something. And guess what? He was right. It turned out that the negatives belonged to American photographer Ansel Adams, who's famous for his black and white landscape photos of the American West. After 6 months of examination by teams of experts, they were deemed to be early work by Adams, taken between 1919 and 1930. For decades, the photos were thought to have been destroyed in a fire at his studio back in 1937, which is one reason that they were given a conservative value of $200 million. Oh! I'm going garage sale hunting, excuse me. Number 9 is piano gold. On November 21st of 2016, a piano tuner in Shropshire, England, had the best day at work he possibly could have when he found a hoard of gold hidden inside a piano. Martin Backhouse was called to Bishop's Castle Community College to tune a Broadwood upright piano that had recently been donated. It didn't take long for him to discover 7 cloth packets bound with leather string containing 913 gold sovereign and half sovereign coins hidden beneath the keys, making it the largest collection of gold sovereign coins ever found. Now, the coins only had a face value of 773 pounds at the time, but today they're worth, drumroll, 500,000 pounds. The piano was made in the early 1900s, and the coins date back to 1847 to somewhere around 1915, but whoever hid them is a mystery. Meg and Graham Hemmings had owned the piano in 1983, but donated it to the school in 2016 after deciding to downsize, meaning they don't have any rights to the treasure that they had in their living room for over 30 years. That's unfortunate. I'll tell you right now though, if that was me, I would go full Thomas Crown Affair on their ass and you would never see me again. I would just take the gold and I would be on an island somewhere where you could not find me. Number 8 is the Lombardi sweater. If you don't mind rummaging through piles of old clothes, you can get some really good vintage finds at a thrift store. I'm gonna pop some tags. And in 2014, Sean and Ricky McAvoy definitely proved that to be true. At a Goodwill in Asheville, North Carolina, the couple found an old West Point football sweater and paid just 58 cents for it. Later, while watching a documentary on the legendary American football coach Vince Lombardi, Sean noticed a sweater worn by Lombardi in his early days looked a little familiar. One of his early coaching jobs was at West Point U.S. Military Academy, where he worked from 1948 to 1954, before he joined the NFL, where he went on to coach the New York Giants and the Green Bay Packers. McAvoy was right to think the sweater looked identical because it was the exact same one. After giving his a closer look, he found a tag with Lombardi 46 sewn into the collar. On February 21st, 2015, he sold the sweater for over $43,000. Yeah, hi Goodwill? Yeah, can I come just ransack your place? How much is it for everything, like $5? Yeah, I'll be right there. Number 7 is a painting in a couch. Trying to furnish an apartment as a student on a budget is not an easy thing to do, which is why some German students decided to see what they could find at a flea market in Berlin. They got a deal on a pull-out couch for only $215, but their luck was just beginning. When they got the couch home, they discovered that the couch came with more than just loose change and gum wrappers. Stashed inside was a Venetian painting from the 17th century. The painting, called Preparation to Escape to Egypt, was an oil on shale painting and measured 10 by 15 inches. It was done by an anonymous artist who would have been close to the Venetian painter Carlo Saraceni and would have been painted somewhere between 1605 and 1620, so it was ancient. It was sold in October of 2007 for over $27,000. The student who found it was kept anonymous by the auction house Kunstkettler, which is not a big surprise because for sure you'd be the one buying drinks for everybody right up until you graduated. Number 6 is Billy the Kid. In the summer of 2010, Randy Guiotto was at Fulton's Folly Antique Collective in Fresno, California, and paid just $2 for a cardboard box with 2 old photographs in it and a 4x5-inch tintype photograph of people playing croquet. Guiotto didn't realize the tintype was anything special until a week later when he looked at it under a microscope and recognized one of the men. The hat and the way he was leaning on the croquet mallet were all giveaways that this was actually a photo of the iconic outlaw William Henry McCarty Jr., better known as Billy the Kid. It shows him with members of his gang, the Regulators, taken in the summer of 1878 after a wedding in Chaves County, New Mexico. A team of experts spent a year researching every detail of the photo before coming to the conclusion that it was really a picture of Billy. If you're wondering why this is such a big deal, it's because this is only the second photo of him ever to be authenticated and was valued at $5 million. Number 5 is an Egyptian bike rack. Back in 2000, the staff at God's House Tower Museum, a British archaeological museum in Southampton, England, had to stop using their bike rack when 2 visiting Egyptologists realized that their bike rack was actually a priceless ancient Egyptian statue. The statue was believed to be at least 2,700 years old and depicted the Egyptian king Taraka. He was the 3rd king of the Dynasty 25 from 690 to 664 BC. And was known for building temples. It's an extremely rare example of Kushite art that originated in what is now Sudan. The 27-inch tall statue made of granodiorite had been kept in the museum's basement for nearly 100 years, and the staff had been leaning their bikes against it. The statue was, of course, moved out of the basement of the museum, but they still don't know how it got there. The only record that they have of it was a receipt back from 1912, when the museum opened for a Mr. Williams who donated an Egyptian figure. Well, that priceless Egyptian figure has rust and probably poop and paint smears on it. Just, oh, poor Egyptian king. Number 4 is who the is Jackson Pollock? Back in 1992, Terry Horton, a retired truck driver from California, went to a thrift store looking for a gift for a friend. So as a joke, she spent $5 on a large abstract painting. After a good laugh, her friend gave it back because it was too big to fit in her house. So Horton put it out at her yard sale, but changed her mind when a local teacher told her that she might have an original painting by the American painter Jackson Pollock. To which she replied, "Who the bleep is Jackson Pollock?" Horton is still trying to have the painting authenticated and even had a documentary made about it. Terry and her supporters, including forensic experts and art historians, think it could be worth $50 to $100 million. She did get an offer for $2 million for the painting, but turned it down since it could be worth way more. For years, she's been on a crusade to prove that the work is real, but the art establishment is not an easy group to convince. Number 3 is an Andy Warhol sketch. In 2010, British businessman Andy Fields from England was in Las Vegas when he made the purchase of a lifetime at a garage sale. Fields bought a bunch of paintings and drawings done by the author and artist Gertrude Stein for $5 a piece. But when he returned home and was having the works framed, Fields found out that he had gotten way more than he bargained for. Stuck in with Gertrude Stein's work was a drawing by iconic pop artist Andy Warhol. The drawing was of Rudy Vallee, an actor and singer from the 1930s. The work was signed Andy Warhol and is believed to have been done in the late 30s when he was only 10 or 11 years old. Warhol, who was born Andrew Warhola, didn't change his name until 1949 and also didn't sign his early work, but experts believe he probably signed it later on and had it certified as a legitimate original valued at 1.3 million pounds. So there you go, you never know when art is going to be worth something. Personally, I'm going to start drawing stick figures and put them on eBay. $500 a piece, and they might be worth a lot more later, so hit me up. Number 2 is a Ming Dynasty vase. Back in the summer of 2007, a family in New York spent the day checking out some local yard sales. One of their finds was a small white bowl that they had got for $3. Now that might seem like a lot to pay for a simple old looking dish that was only about 5 inches, but that's until you find out just why it looked a little worn around the edges. After having the bowl on a shelf for a while, the owners got curious about its origin. They were amazed when they had it appraised that the bowl was actually at least 1,000 years old and dated back to the Chinese Northern Song Dynasty. The bowl was an incredibly rare example of early Ding pottery, which was utilitarian in look and use. It was put up for auction with Sotheby's, who estimated it would sell for $200,000 to $300,000. But after a long bidding war between 4 buyers, the bowl ended up selling for over $2.2 million. Yeah, I'm going to some yard sales. Yeah. And number 1 is the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, that declaration. The Declaration of Independence is considered one of the most important documents in history, and an authentic copy is worth, a lot. And that's what one lucky anonymous buyer found at a flea market in Adamstown, Pennsylvania back in 1989, when he purchased a painting for $4 just for the frame. But while taking it apart, he found a copy of the Declaration of Independence hidden behind the canvas. It was one of only 24 copies made on Independence Day, July 4th, 1776. It ended up selling at auction in 1991 for over $2.4 million. But that's not the only copy worth big bucks. In 2006, a man named Michael Sparks bought what he thought was a cheap souvenir for $2.48, but wound up getting over $477,000 for it. And in 1990, Tom Lingenfelter spent $100 on a copy that he thought was from the 1800s. But it's more likely that it was the first print ever made from the original, worth $100 million. Anybody else just want to quit their job at this point and just go treasure hunting at like Goodwill and yard sales? Makes you think. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I really appreciate your attention. On the right, you'll find 2 of my most recent videos that you can press or click right now if you'd like to watch some more. And other than that, I will see you this Saturday with a brand new 50 amazing, not animated, facts. I'll see you guys then.